Master, guests, and brethren all. Our regional speaker, Don Graham, asked me to convey his apology to all of you because he couldn't make it today. He was very keen to come here yesterday, but unfortunately, he got news that his father-in-law passed away in New Plymouth, so he had to go to New Plymouth yesterday to support his wife. But anyway, he said he will come in our next meeting to make his presentation. So your worshipful master and myself yesterday were frantically looking for a subject speaker, but to no avail. So now you just have to settle with me. I volunteered to speak to you today on a subject which I think you may not be too familiar with. And the title of my speech is Feng Shui. Is it for real? I'm sure some of you have come across these two Chinese words, Feng Shui. These are the two Chinese characters. But you most likely don't know what it means. Feng actually is wind, Shui is water. For people who come from Asia, they know that Feng Shui is part of the cultures of many Asian communities, particularly those countries with Chinese population. But for some Westerners, Feng Shui may sound a bit superstitious, suspicious, and something that probably have no logical basis. Today, I'd like to share with you some information about Feng Shui from my experience of living in Hong Kong for about 20 years, and give you some examples of why I believe Feng Shui is for real. I do not pretend to be an expert in Feng Shui because to learn Feng Shui requires years of study and practice, like learning to be an electrician or a plumber. And most importantly, it requires an in-depth knowledge of the Chinese language, which unfortunately I don't have. What is Feng Shui? Well, according to experts, Feng Shui is an ancient art and science based on the Taoist religion, developed over 3,000 years ago in China. It is a complex body of knowledge that reveals how to balance the qi or the energy of any given space or location to ensure the health and the good fortune of the people living in it. Feng means wind and Shui means water. And in Chinese culture, wind and water are associated with good health and fortune. But how then can you tell whether the energy of a qi of a certain place is good for you? Well, like many things else in life, you need to consult the expert. In this case, a Feng Shui expert. He will use certain mathematical formula, and with the aid of a Feng Shui compass and your date of birth, he will do some calculation and determine whether a place or a house or a location is auspicious to you, for you. You can pass this around, Feng Shui compass. I came across Feng Shui when I first went to Hong Kong to work many years ago. Feng Shui is like a religion in Hong Kong, much like rugby in New Zealand. The rich man in Hong Kong, the richest man in Hong Kong, Mr. Li Ka-shing, who's a property tycoon, pays a few $100,000 to his Feng Shui expert every year to help provide advice on where to build his commercial buildings. This man, this Li Ka-shing, is worth $30 billion US, but he needs a Feng Shui expert to provide him advice on when it comes to making major decisions. Even the HSBC, which is a traditional international British bank, employs a feng shui advisor to help them find suitable locations for their branches worldwide. At first, when I heard about feng shui, I didn't believe it, having been brought up in a Catholic country than Philippines. I thought it was witchcraft. But when I decided to buy my first apartment in Hong Kong off the plan, I realized it was a big financial commitment. It cost around $1 million Hong Kong dollars at that time, which is about, in current money, is about 300,000 Hong Kong. But my Hong Kong secretary insisted that I have to consult a feng shui expert. So I did. And this expert, his name is Mr. Yun Lau, I still communicate with him these days, accompanied me to the site of the proposed building. He used his feng shui compass, determined the exact location of the site, did some calculations, and recommended that I bought the unit on the 12th floor of the building, facing the Hong Kong Harbor, but away from the Chinese temple nearby, because according to him, a house, an apartment facing a temple or a church doesn't have good feng shui. I paid him the equivalent of New Zealand dollars, 1,000 New Zealand dollars, which was quite a sum at that time. And he guaranteed me that I would make a lot of money on my property. However, 1 year later, Hong Kong suffered an economic downturn. The property prices plummeted, including that of my apartment, which were dropped by 25%. I was so angry at this feng shui expert for giving me wrong advice. I thought and that by that time my suspicion about feng shui was confirmed. It was all a big scam. But a year later, after the crash, the Hong Kong property market recovered due to the influx of foreign investments. And lo and behold, the price of my property skyrocketed by 90% in 12 months. And for the first time in my life, I was a millionaire in Hong Kong dollars. I was over the moon, and from that time on, I became a firm believer of feng shui and an evangelist of feng shui. When I first moved to New Zealand in 1999, I was not sure whether feng shui applies to New Zealand, so I did not consult a feng shui expert when I bought my first house. But things started to go wrong. My wife and I could not sleep at night. We had constant arguments, and I couldn't find a job for months. Luckily, a friend of mine recommended a feng shui expert who was originally from Hong Kong. So this feng shui expert came to my house, rearranged the location of the bed, suggested we block the pedestrian gate on my front yard, and he said that because the good luck comes from the main gate, goes to my house, and goes out through the pedestrian gate. So by blocking that pedestrian gate, the good luck would stay in my home. Suddenly, we had no more problems sleeping. There was less arguments, and I found a job in less than 2 months, and money started to come in. Brethren, up to now, I still don't know how feng shui really works. Suffice it to say, from my experience, it has been beneficial both personally and financially. So I think feng shui is for real. Thank you.